Foodservice Power Plant Network. Yo, friends, welcome to Monday night. I hope your week has started like cruising and cranking and feeling great about what you're accomplishing and how you're starting your week. Hopefully there was some successes. Hopefully there was some good planning. Hopefully you solved some challenges for some customers wherever you are. I hope you are well. Thanks for joining us for my favorite night of the week. Tonight is fun because we have someone, historically we interview people at a manufacturer level or a rep level or a dealer level in our industry. And tonight we get Anna Davidson. She and her husband, Bob, own some restaurants up in Chicago. And so from an end user perspective, she's going to join us tonight. It's going to be awesome to hear just what she's done, her career journey. Blackberry Market, I have some friends who happen to live near there and have been there and asked me a question. I forgot to ask Anna ahead of time, but we're going to pick her brain on it. So it's always fun getting that end user's perspective for us, because that's ultimately why we do what we do. We help people own restaurants. We help people serve food because we know the power of food in community building, et cetera. So remember, if you've got a notepad and pen, I would encourage you to write some notes down. Inevitably, Anna's story, which is a really cool and unique one, she'll have things in her journey that might be for you. The other thing I would say is you're welcome to comment. You're welcome to, if you know Anna or friends, you're welcome to cheer her on, all that kind of jazz. We'll have a blast. And also, listen, thanks to some really special groups of people. The Zumba group, they're the creative minds and team behind FENS Magazine, RD&D Magazine. And they are telling us, all the time, they're giving us information on what's changing in our industry, what's happening, what are the trends, so we can make informed decisions. And thanks for their partnership to believe in the positive messaging of the Foodservice Power Plant Network. And that in addition to the headspace information that they give us so brilliantly, that we're here to connect with the heart too, and take care of each other and support each other. And then the team over at Craven Company, they're a white glove full service marketing company. So they can take care of all your needs. Consider them like a GC of marketing. So if you need social media help, website help, whatever you need, reach out to Chelsea and team at Crave. They've got you. Thanks for believing in this messaging too, building my website, all this kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's go find Anna.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good.
Good. What's a Monday look like in your world?
Well, today felt a little unique. I think post-Easter, tax day, there was a lot of activity today. But usually Monday for me is a regrouping, coming in after a busy weekend. I like the calm in the restaurant, and usually I can debrief with some of the management. We can look at numbers. We can plan for the week ahead. So usually it's a regroup day, and it's traditionally my favorite day of the week. My kids go back to school, things in the restaurant quiet down, and I can kind of refocus.
That sounds awesome. So many people, for some reason, Monday going from slow weekend, maybe slower, depending on what part of the industry you're in, to cranking on Monday. Usually in the supply and equipment world, weekends are kind of off. And then Monday we get going again. And some people struggle with that at different times. So I love that Monday's a regroup, that it's a little bit quieter. Let's do some processing. Let's do some talking. There's not too much happening. What a fun way to start the week.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Okay. Can you tell us, so you've got Blackberry Market you've got 2 locations up in the Chicago area.
Correct.
What's some of your history to deciding, I want to start a restaurant and then growing that? What was your background?
I was a pastry chef, and then I got into catering. I mean, mostly friends were like, hey, I'm having a party. So it's 15 years ago, I started doing a lot of catering and then more. And I decided I wanted to open my own place. My husband was in marketing. He was, kept encouraging me and pushing me and saying, hey, we got your back. We'll do all your branding and social media. So that made it easier. I could focus on the part I like. Yeah. So just bit it off 10 years ago and really haven't looked back since.
Did that feel like when you decided, did it feel like a big leap from being a pastry chef and having a catering company to opening? That feels like a big jump. Did you feel that? Or were you like, you know what? I just feel energized. We're going to crush this.
Oh, no, I was very reluctant. And yes, it was a big jump, huge learning curve. But pastry chef was a little bit of a second career for me. I had a teaching degree. I had done some work in leadership. So I wasn't completely out of my depth with visioning, starting something, training staff, that kind of thing. And even as a pastry chef, I was head of a pastry department. So I had a little bit of experience hiring and managing, but nothing like what I needed. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Good for you. Now you had one location for 10 years you started. And then when did you open your second?
2019.
Right.
Great time to open something else. So yeah, actually we opened our first location at the very end of 2012, so almost 2013. And then, yeah, it took a while before I was ready to open another. So about 6 years.
And how is it? I mean, COVID was obviously a unique time for so many of us. And certainly restaurants, I don't own them, but certainly hearing the stories or talking to you a little bit of friends, what was that experience? I mean, I don't know if there's a word or two that can define, you and Blackberry Markets experience through that time. Is there anything that you would say, I don't know, you learned most or that most exemplified that period?
Well, when it started, it was so unfamiliar. We'd never had anything like it, never had indoor dining shut down. So I would say the way it started was really stressful, incredibly scary. And now with retrospect, I can say, yeah, we built a lot of resilience. We really came together. We learned how well we can pivot, what we can accomplish, even in completely unusual circumstances. So I would say it was very difficult. And on the other side of it, hopefully, yeah, I can see the positives and the ways it benefited us as well.
Good for you. I love that you're able to look back and find those. They're there somewhere, I think, oftentimes if we choose to look for them. So kudos to you. And I'm sure your team's looking for them too, seeing what you're doing and your perspective. I think it's wonderful. Here's a question. I know supply chain, we all know it's uniquely challenging, both in our side of the industry on the supply and equipment from plates or disposables or ovens or chairs, and certainly also on the food and the ingredient side. I'm sure all of that's happening as well. What adjustments do you find that you all are having to make given the changes? I mean, is it reducing menu items? Is it consolidating things for similar ingredients? Like, what are you having to do to handle this time?
Whatever's called for in the moment. So it might mean opening a new account with a new vendor because they have the hot cups we can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's finding a new website that can get us the thing we need. It's living without something we thought we needed, but then we learned we can use something else. Just this week, we had a salad on our Easter menu that had pomegranate seeds on it and none to be found anywhere. Wow. And so we just said, okay, we're not going to use those. We're going to use, oranges instead. We sent an email to everyone who'd ordered it. So what I am finding is customers are really understanding. They see, like, in lots of different places, what we're up against. And I think I had 200 salads ordered, not a peep from anyone. They were like, great, make it however you need to make it. So
that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of whatever it takes, menu changes, finding new vendors, finding new products. Yeah. And it's challenging, but what we're finding is there are solutions for the moment.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad that you feel like you've got at least some solutions to come by.
Yeah.
Is this, in terms of your team, how does, through so much change and lots of stuff, things can feel heavy for all of us at different times. Is there kind of something that you've done with your team to keep motivation going and keep people's spirits up or anything like that?
I think one of the most important things for my team is creating a space where everyone feels like they have a voice. And sometimes it's a voice just to express even frustration or what they're feeling. Or sometimes it's, hey, I have an idea, or this is how something can work better. And I mean, I think in these tough times, there's so many different personalities and employees who have lots of backstories or things going on outside of work. And so, I have some employees that are like, yay, a challenge, rise to the occasion, energized by it. And then I have others who, just have had a tough couple of years and really kind of what I would say almost stagnated. But I think work could be a safe place that has a routine. And so it's just holding space for all of that and meeting people where they are and allowing them to express. I think that that's been important for us all along. And I've just found in these past couple of years, it's just become so much more important.
And I love that you recognize the different just layers to people or places they come from. And I love the phrase, I don't know if the phrase holding space, do you know where that comes from? Is that a Brene Brown thing? Or I love that term, just being able to be like, I can, whatever you're bringing right now, I got
Yeah.
it. Like I can
Right.
hold this space for you to be wherever you are. I think that's a beautiful concept to bring into your restaurants for your team.
Yeah. Well, what I like the distinction is I think holding space means allowing without needing to react
Huh.
or really like, let it like come into you and, you take it on. It's like, yeah, you can show up with what you have and I can allow for that. And I don't need it. I don't need to be triggered by it. All right. So I do love that term.
Gosh, I do too. Thanks for defining that for me. I don't think I realized it quite meant that. Beautiful. Here's a question. Hey, Brian, we've got Brian Spencer joining us on LinkedIn. Yo, man, as you pivoted to better serve your customers during the pandemic, Anna, are there any examples of ways your food or other suppliers adapted that made it easier for you to do business with them?
Definitely.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, I would say over the past 2 years, I feel more connected to my vendors and suppliers than I ever have. I think them empathizing with me and seeing what I'm going through. So that's just number one. Like, I'm on a call, I'm on an email, I'm texting, and they're like, oh, this is tough. I'm really sorry. And then, me seeing it on their side too, like things drying up for them. So I feel like, trading stories back and forth has always been part of really the fun for me, but that's become again more important these last couple years. And then I just feel like my people go above and beyond. So, I mean, I have an
Mhm.
equipment supplier that, I'm not doing like a huge package with him right now, but he's going to really go out and find that like one tiny little thing that I need. Or, I mean, even just last week, I had a walk-in issue and it was my equipment guy that like got the service person there, even though it wasn't, I don't even think he sold it to me and it wasn't under warranty, but they're all going above and beyond for me. And it just makes me feel like someone has my back and I'm not in this alone. And I love it. And same with my food vendors. Like when I can't find something, they help me find it. They help me find a sub. They'll drive it to me. They're just all going above and beyond. And it just really means a lot to me.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Can we? I don't. Are you allowed to share who your supplier is? Who's the person that's that helped you figure out the walk-in? And
Yeah.
we can give him a shout out here if you want.
Yeah, for sure. His name's Kevin Corral. He works for a company called ADE. And yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, he and I have been through a lot together. I met him right when I first opened and I ended up like not buying all my equipment from him because they wouldn't take a credit card.
Okay.
But it's paid back to him in dividends because I bought a lot from him since and then referred him again and again. So we've really been through a lot together. So yeah, I love him.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful, Kevin. Way to go. And we talk a lot here about this whole idea that relationship is the result of surviving a risk with another person.
Mm,
And so these just
I
all
like
these
that.
little compounding risks that you guys are surviving together. Like, hey, I don't know how to get this. He's like, I don't know either, but we're gonna try, or whatever. And Brian, to Anna's point, I think more of those conversations and the willingness to acknowledge what's really going on, to
Mm.
empathize and try to solve. You might not always be able to solve, but at least try. It sounds like that goes a long way. Our friend Kathy Langlois up in Chicago, love that. Allowing without needing to react.
Mhm.
Totally. That it's just a really amazing concept of you be wherever you're at right now, and I don't need to respond in a certain way, and I don't need to be judgmental or angry or happy or sad or any of it. Just be wherever you're at. I think that creates a freedom for people to come just as they are.
Yeah.
Look at this. No way. David Maxwell. Kevin is a
I
longtime
love
friend and a great DSR.
that. So great.
So great, David. Welcome, buddy.
Small
Good to see
world,
you.
small world.
Small world is right. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question that our friend Kathy actually asked me. So Kathy, who just commented,
Mhm.
lives right near you,
Oh,
and I
great.
think Wheaton area.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's next door.
she's been to your, is it Glen Ellen
Yep.
location?
Mhm.
She's been, and she asked me to ask you something about, does the name Cara Whiting or Cara Whitting mean anything to you?
A ton, yes. Cara was my dear friend. She opened with me. She ran my bakery program. So when I was a pastry chef, I hired her and we worked together. And then when I opened my place, she came and ran the bakery, but she passed away from colon cancer at the end of 2019.
Oh, gosh.
I know. So yes, dear, dear friend. I think about her every day. She's still a huge part of my life.
Oh, I love that she continues to live in you and through you and at Blackberry Market. Kathy had asked about Cara Whiting's legacy of the cinnamon roll recipe.
Yes, absolutely. So Cara, like way back when we were working together at our first restaurant, she made me cinnamon rolls for Christmas.
Okay.
And I remember like they were so cute and they were on a plate and I threw them in my car and like drove home to Arkansas where I'm from, like 10 hours, just didn't really think much about it. And then the next morning I was like, oh yeah, I'll try these. I pulled one out and was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever tasted. So yeah, when we started Blackberry Market, she was like, we're doing the cinnamon rolls. We hadn't made them before. And I'm like, okay, let's figure it out. And so we did. And it's just off and running. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for bringing that up, Kathy. What a story. I'm glad you guys were close. Zena, I totally agree. My vendors have been amazing. Things are hard and challenging, and they help me push through. Love that you gave a shout out to your equipment dealer. That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, now you also have this really cool story, and the way I should tell everybody, the way that Anna and I connected was so many people in my community know my son and I, Liam, have been doing this ski challenge this year, Anna. So Anna and I met on a gondola, by the way, up in Vail. So as Kathy says, those cinnamon rolls are legendary.
I ate one today.
You do? Okay. I'm getting up to Chicago in May, and I don't know if I have time, but if there's a way, and I'm going to come,
we'll figure it out.
Love one of those cinnamon rolls if I can get by. Anna and I met on Liam and I and Anna and some of her friends were all skiing in Vail. And we're on a gondola going up, and we just start talking about, I was like, oh, I love Chicago. I come out to the NRA show. Anyway, I love, obviously a part of the Power Play Network is doing some coaching and offering tools to people. And Anna and a bunch of her friends were a part of or graduates of the cognitive conscious leadership group. The conscious leadership group. And Anna, you had said that you were trained in that. You're a coach in conscious leadership. Can you tell us kind of what caused you to want to go learn that, study that, and become a coach in conscious leadership?
Yeah. So I had been part of conscious leadership forums, just, learning more. And I ended up going through their coaches program. I always say it was like really completely selfish because it's just gave me an opportunity to learn more about myself and some of my own patterns and things that I need to learn to do and be better. And it's just transformed how I live my own life, but then also how I run my business, how I work with employees. And it's given me a lot of skills to, hold space, to allow things, learn how to notice when I'm triggered and breathe into that and, get curious about it. So yeah, really, it was purely selfish. And then it's ended up being incredibly beneficial for me and lots of people around me.
Wow. Is there, like, if you could define the whole idea of conscious leadership, or is there like a sentence or two that you could use to describe kind of what it is for people wondering what it teaches?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with a book, and the book is called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. But I would say the 15 commitments, it's really about building awareness of, how we operate, and sometimes how we're in what I would call the trans of our personality, or we're caught in compulsions or habits that are unconscious, like things that we're creating in our lives that we don't even have awareness around, except for maybe sometimes we see the results and we just go, shoot, I wish that wasn't happening. And so it's just learning how to dig underneath that and find, ways that we actually are committed to that happening. So it's really a tool to build awareness. And then, we like to say the best thing is once you have awareness, then immediately can you have some acceptance, because you really can't shift what you can't accept. So I like, it's like building an awareness acceptance loop. So that's really the simplest. There's a lot more to it than that.
Oh my gosh. I have to imagine coming with that framework or that foundation into, your two restaurants, your employees. How many team members do you have, Anna? How many people work Blackberry Market?
About 100.
About 100.
Mhm.
So coming in and being able to people knowing it's a safe place to, sort of come with wherever they're coming from, that you're willing to hold space, as we talked about, help them
Mhm.
create, excuse me, awareness and acceptance, and that you're willing to, walk them through this to some degree. I mean, granted, while performing, and this is what Blackberry Market standards are, and this is who we
Yep.
are and how we serve the community, but we can work with wherever you're at. I have to think that's a great creator of just culture and sort of safety within an environment and a group of people. Do you feel that, like, looking kind of at your team from your position there?
Definitely. Yes.
Um, is there, we keep hearing about in restaurants this whole idea of the great resignation in food service in particular. Although last month I think we added quite a bit, I think like 60,000 jobs in food service,
Mhm.
which was a great month. How has it been for you? People leaving, just deciding to go somewhere else. There's something with better pay. There's something with, there's always something different. Or people not showing up for interviews, just, as hard as that can be. What's your experience been kind of with your team in terms of people staying or going? How's that going for you right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we certainly have had our struggles with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, it's felt like in this past year or two, it's been heightened, but it's always been an issue in our industry. Like we
Yeah.
always have to be prepared to, train people quickly. There's going to be some seasonal situations. There's a lot of turnover. So I think we're always trying to create some flexibility on our teams to be prepared for that and be able to absorb some of that. And yeah, especially last fall, we had a blip, I would say from mid-August to mid-October that was pretty rough.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was exhausting for our management team because we're all just digging in and working harder to make up for really losing a lot of hourlies that then we didn't have replacements for.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a challenge.
Um, well, I have to think that, when people hear about sort of the spirit of who you all are and how you're running it and the team, that's a huge part of people wanting to come to be a part of that. Do you find people who come, do you get a fair amount of team members just by word of mouth from other team members who work there, and they tell a friend and they tell a friend or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. And just people who have been customers or their parents are customers or yeah, that's really fun for us. We have a lot of visibility in the community. And so, and a lot of times we'll advertise jobs on our Facebook page or places where, it's really our customers who are seeing it. And so then they're passing it along. They're like, oh, well, I know so and so is looking for a job. And I actually was meeting with a manager this morning and we were kind of going through a list. I mean, this time of year, I'm like, okay, what summer people are coming back? And because, we'll always have some college kids and there was a good list this year. So I'm really encouraged. Yeah. So I feel like there's a handful of, yeah, some kids who are already trained that are showing up and, I have one person coming in, she's graduating from college. We're going to train her as a supervisor. So it feels like things are looking up and getting a little better. So, and little like random side bonus, I think our management team really in that season last fall has learned to work a little leaner, which never hurts. You really don't know what you can live without until you have to.
Sure.
So I'm just noticing it feels like, yeah, we're learning how to survive with a little less and, do that in a way where we can still serve the guests and not create burnout. But so finding that balance and that sweet spot.
Good for you all. There's like you said, there's always things to learn and gifts in that challenge. Okay, I don't know who this is. LinkedIn user. All I am thinking about now are cinnamon rolls.
There you go. Yep,
Can
the
you
NRA
deliver to
problem.
the
I'll just throw it
NRA show? I don't know. How close are you all to McCormick?
Yeah, it's about half an hour, probably from our LaGrange store.
Half
It's
hour.
not
All
that
right. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll Uber out one morning and bring back some cinnamon rolls,
I love it.
and
Yep,
someone
we'll
can
do a
stop
big
by the
tray
cow
of
milker.
minis. You'll be the most popular person at the show.
We would be. You're right. If we want to fill the booth, let's put some
There you
awesome,
go.
awesome cinnamon rolls in there. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's another great question, Kathy. As you develop talent, what is the best thing you teach to your future leaders?
Mm, yeah,
Hmm.
that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I was meeting with someone today and we were talking about, so we train really young people. I mean, we have people who start in our restaurants at 16 and, if we're lucky, some of them really stick around. So I was meeting with one of our staff today. She's an assistant manager. She's only 23. She started working when she was 16. And so I feel like for her, what she really needs is learning how to be and go from being an operator who performs well on the floor to actually being a presence, who's leading, who's, feeding into other people, who's aware of how she's impacting the floor. Before she could just put her head down and make coffee and sandwiches and it's not a problem. And now she has to really embody a new posture. So talking to her about that and then reminding her that like it's up to her to create or really lean into her leadership style. She's not just mimicking the other managers she knows, because that can be uncomfortable if that's really not who she is. So that's kind of a long, and I don't know if that's even what I would teach everyone. I guess it depends on who it is. But yeah, I think when I would say I encourage all my staff to really lean into the things that they're the best at.
Yeah.
And work with that. And then areas where they have weaknesses, get help, start to develop those. But really pay attention to where you shine and where the things you really love doing.
Gosh, I love that answer. That is great. I think I go back to your message of conscious leadership. For the areas that maybe they don't thrive in right now, let's accept or acknowledge and accept.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've come there, it's way easier to grow and learn. We're not resisting anymore. We're not fighting it.
Yep.
And you can develop there. And I love that idea of there's a different presence in a leadership role and a management role. So it's time, it's important that you lean into that, accept it, acknowledge that it's different than, bussing tables or being a server or whatever it is. I think that is one of those, talk about making someone feel really valued and that they matter.
Mm-hmm.
We all want to know that we matter, like that, that sense that we're
Definitely.
contributing something bigger than us. And when you position it that way, I think it inevitably, it presents it to people that way.
Yes. I
God,
hope so. Yeah.
yeah, I love it. This is great. Rob Connolly. Rob, let's see.
Hi,
Jason,
Rob.
you are above the line. Curious,
Above the line, it's
open,
a classic
awareness.
conscious leadership term. So we say, are you above the line, open, curious, wanting to learn, or below the line, triggered, constricted, reacting out of fear?
Oh,
Yeah, the fellow conscious leadership friend here.
Rob, are you serious? This is so awesome. Rob is the CEO and chairman of a company called Henny Penny, and they do a
Okay.
lot with a lot of national chains, and also a really, really great friend. So, Rob, that is awesome. Above the line, below the line.
Yeah,
I
I
cannot
told him to
believe.
get the book. We'll see if he reads it.
I know. Yeah, I know. I've got to read the book.
I told you audio. Go audiobook. You can listen to it on the gondola.
Done. I'm in. Rob, welcome, buddy. That's awesome. You're above the line too, by the way, Rob. Yeah, beyond above the line. I
We're
love it.
all both every day.
Yeah, that's a good
We
way
do
to
it
say
all.
that.
We're all human. So yeah, it's not about always being above the line. It's just about creating the awareness.
Gosh, I'm learning so much tonight. Okay, Anna, outside of the restaurant,
Yeah.
which was a passion, you loved it, you want to try something new, you took a risk. It takes a lot of time, I'm sure, and you're developing, leading, all these things. What are you doing for you? What do you do sort of fill your cup? What gives you energy? It's so easy for us, particularly in food service, to be all in all the time. And sometimes it's hard to have those boundaries. Sometimes it's hard to take care of us. What's something you do to take care of you?
Well, definitely traveling, as you caught me out in Vail. So
Yep.
that's a really important thing for me to get really away, where I feel the distance, I can really relax, breathe. So whenever I can pull that off, I love to travel. And then, you know, I like to do lots of different things. I mean, I'm in food service because I love people, I love hosting. And so I can be kind of a community junkie. And I'm just learning recently, it's really important for me to create time to be alone,
Yeah.
to slow down, which is, those things are hard for me in a sense. And I'm just realizing it really helps me to settle my system and really create space for whatever's next. But yeah, really allowing, to let go of that adrenaline that we get
Yeah.
hooked on in restaurants. We're all kind of intensity adrenaline junkies in the restaurant industry. And that can create a lot of burnout and, overwhelm. So Yeah, I feel like lately for me, it's walks, meditation, just making sure I'm carving out time every day to really slow down, be still, get grounded. So
Good
that's
for
what I'm
you.
trying to do when I can.
Okay, I'm going to dive into two of those things. Most people know how to walk, so we don't need to dive into that. But in terms of like nuts and bolts of like meditation, is there
Yeah.
an app you use? Is there a
Mhm.
book you've read or anything that really helped you? That's something
Mhm.
that's kind of, for a lot of people, it's, sitting and being quiet is doable. Meditation sometimes feels harder for people.
Yeah, sure. I struggle with it too. Again, someone who's like on the move, on the go. So, yeah, I've used lots. I mean, Headspace is a great place to start. I think they do a great like intro to meditation. Um, I Insight Timer, it's free. It has lots of guided meditations. And then lately I've been using the Calm app. That's a good one. So I've been going through Jack Cornfield's post-pandemic meditations. I really love those. So yeah, I kind of jump around a little bit. A lot of my friends in conscious leadership use Sam Harris's. I don't remember the name of it right now, but he has a great meditation app as well. So there's lots of resources out there, and I think it's nice to have like something like that where it's guided. There's a start, there's an end. You're breathing. I mean, the whole point of meditation is creating headspace. It's like allowing the mind to kind of settle and not like it always does. So
That's a challenge for me too,
yeah.
to really settle. Like the minute I try to create that space, I do something sometimes called like a releasing meditation that I learned
Mhm.
from a guy named Brendan Burchard. 20 minutes release, and you kind of say it every 5 seconds or whatever. But I end up inevitably thoughts come in, and I go down that trail of whatever thought, and I'm like, oh gosh, oh gosh. And so
Mhm.
when there's someone guiding me and really leading me through it, I find it seems to be
Helpful
more
just to
helpful
come
for me a
back.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they can pull me back, guide me, and then there's less room for things to sort of sneak in. I
True.
don't
Yeah.
know. I love it. Lots of great ideas there. Um, was there a moment that you would say was the proudest moment in your professional career?
Well, that's hard for me to say. There's a few. So I've had the restaurant for 10 years. So my youngest son was 5 years old when it started, and I have 2 daughters. So I've had many moments, especially around holidays, Thanksgiving, where I can look across the restaurant and see my whole family working, and that is like it's just like one of those things I just didn't even consider or anticipate that of course we're all going to do this together because it just I don't know, I didn't have the vision for that. But then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I wake up and I've got 4 nephews and a niece, and my mom and dad are hanging out and handing out Thanksgiving food or whatever it is. So those moments for me are like, this is the
Oh.
greatest. So I love that. And then just this year, I think it was in March, right after I was in Vail, our restaurant won Restaurant of the Year in Glen Ellen, and that was so exciting. It was like
Woo!
this big fancy dinner, and we got a whole table, and it was so much fun for our team. And I got to give a speech and get a prize and dress up, and it was a really proud moment. I just felt, because I feel like I've lived in this community forever, and just feeling loved and supported as much as we are, just it's just great. Can't beat it.
Way to go. That's awesome. Here's a question for you. When they rate that, when you were chosen as Restaurant of the Year,
Mhm.
is it is the criteria how is the food, or are there greater areas? I mean, is it, who you are to the community? I mean, I kind of
Well, it's
wonder if
the community voting, so it's really up to them. So I'm
got it.
sure it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if your restaurants kind of hold space for a community as well.
We have a piece of art on the wall. Matthew Hoffman, he's a local Chicago artist, and he made it for us. And it's a script, and it says "Make space at the table." And that for
Mm,
us means so many different things. But I love that it's like on our wall. That's what we're speaking to. We want space at the table for everyone to show up. We want you to have a place, when you need it. We want to provide food so you can make space at your own table. So definitely what we're all about, and it's a great vision to have realized every day.
yeah, Anna. Oh my gosh. I love it. You're feeding people well with
Mhm.
amazing cinnamon rolls and all the different things that you do, but it seems like you're feeding them in lots of capacities in ways that
Mm,
we all need, which I think is the true gift of what we
absolutely.
all do. Um, what is next for Blackberry Market?
Whew, I have a lot going on right now. We are developing a commissary kitchen. So that's new. I'm really taking a lot of the government money that I got through the pandemic and I'm turning that around and spending it.
There you
And
go.
so we're in the process of building a commissary kitchen and we're developing a bigger space. And so we're creating a kitchen collective with the other restaurant groups too. So it's kind of unique and I'm really excited, but we're helping, we're hoping what this will enable us to do is build more stores that have a smaller footprint. So, we can go in the high rent areas and have lots of customer space, but we don't have as much back of house space
Okay.
because we're going to try and produce most of our food through this commissary kitchen. And then, from the employee side, I want to create like a lot of engagement and involvement. And so really pooling my talent and having a fun place for them to work in the commissary kitchen. So that's what's next for me right now. And then I'm also starting to license my brand, starting with, I have a brother who lives in Arkansas and he is opening a Blackberry Market there this summer.
Wow.
So that's been a really fun project for me, having him dive in and learning the business, and it's making me better. And I'm just so excited for him to get to own his own and figure it out and me be as alongside him along the way. So those two things are keeping me busy right now.
Holy cow, Anna, that's a lot. Yeah, first time licensing and then a commissary kitchen. So you'll have different in this commissary kitchen. Will there be like different kitchens for individual restaurants to come in and produce their stuff?
Yes.
So forth? Okay.
Yes. So we'll have our own space. Then we have another restaurant group that's building out their own space in the same building. And then we have two other kitchens that will rent out to whoever needs them.
Oh my gosh, so cool. Here's a great question from someone. Can you also use those commissary kitchens as ghost kitchens?
Exactly. Yep.
Wow, done. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've got a lot on your plate and a lot of fun stuff. I love that you're growing. I love that you're investing. I love your success. I love what you're doing in your community. Anna, this was a really fun conversation. And thanks so much for coming on and joining us.
What you guys are doing and that, you're connecting and figuring things out and supporting each other. This is what it's all about.
Heck yeah. We're stronger when we do it together. And,
Absolutely.
like you shared tools tonight with us that, so many of us maybe hadn't heard of or didn't know about. Rob obviously did. And so for us to go learn and take back into our businesses, that's the cool thing is people are going to take some of what you shared tonight. They're going to go listen to the book on Audible or wherever. They're going to buy the book and they're going to learn and they're going to take that into their organizations. And then you never know, like 10 companies out of this conversation will go back and like the phrase holding space is going to be a thing, like an active, set of group of words that will mean something in these places.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, gosh, I love it. Well, thank you. And
thank you. I appreciate, you holding space for me to talk about my story.
Well, it was total gift and meeting you on the gondola, it's sometimes I wonder if I'm one of those, there are no coincidence people. I don't know. I have friends that say that, and I don't know if I'm there, but I don't think it was a coincidence that I got to meet you and Clay and some of those friends. And I love that we did. I cannot wait till when I'm near one of your restaurants to come in and experience it and, meet your staff, have a cinnamon roll, whatever. It'll be wonderful. So keep doing what you're doing. And listen, on behalf to the entire food service community watching, on behalf of Anna and all she's doing and her team at Blackberry Market and the food service power plant, let us remind you, keep going. If you need people to hold space, you're welcome to reach out to me. We have so many people. We have 2,000 people in our food service power plant network who just simply care for each other. If you want to be a part of a community, you're welcome to go there. We're on Facebook as a way to connect. And if you find yourself in a particularly tough spot right now, know that we all go through stuff. And the reason we're doing this together is to let you know that you're not alone. Part of the job, your job is to keep moving, keep learning, keep growing. To Anna's point with, conscious leadership, learn to acknowledge what's there, recognize, and then accept as a part of that. And if you need to do that with some help, a coach, or there's plenty of coaches in the conscious leadership group. And one of our buddies, Clay, we can connect you with, and so many great people to walk you through that. If you need that as a tool, we'll connect you. So keep going. Thanks for being a part of it. Again, thanks to the Zumba group for recognizing that this need we have to join together in community, offering positive mindset tools and development in our own personal growth matters and all we do in food service. And thanks to the team at Crave for helping get that message out as well. Thanks for joining us. Anna, have a great night.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody. See you soon.